So I just got laid off from my job at Amazon. Let's talk about it. I've been at the company for over 4 years. I loved working at Amazon. I loved my team. I loved the role. I loved the perks. And to be very honest, I was so comfortable in this role. And the craziest thing about this timing is, first of all, I'm on vacation in Mauritius right now.
Amazon to announce largest layoffs in company history, source says. A lot of people think that these layoffs are a direct result of AI. But the interesting thing here, guys, as you guys are about to see, this round of layoffs, the company's biggest layoffs, had nothing to do with warehouse. So we're going to unpack this story and we're going to try to get to the bottom of things to try to figure out what's really going on. And then we're going to listen to a Senate hearing on Amazon and how Amazon in reality is destroying America. But there's three main breaking bullet points. Amazon has begun a fresh round of job cuts beginning yesterday, which was Tuesday. The layoffs will amount to the largest cuts to Amazon corporate workforce in the company's history. The company conducted rolling layoffs across the company since 2022, which resulted in 27,000 employees. So 27,000 employees since 2022. Let's see what's going on now. The company plans to lay off as many as 30,000 staffers across its corporate workforce. Really surprised to see that, because I expected, obviously, warehouse layoffs as a result of robots and automation. Now, Amazon is still the nation's second largest private employer with more than 1.5 million global employees. Now, that figure is primarily made up of warehouse workers, but somehow Amazon has roughly 350,000 corporate employees. I don't know about you, super surprising to me. I have no idea why they have that many corporate employees. The planned layoffs would also represent the biggest job cuts across the tech industry since at least 2020. Couple reminders, Microsoft this year has already laid off 15,000 people. Also, Intel, as you guys see right here, has laid off about 22,000 people. Now, this is saying over the past year, companies across industries, including tech, banking, yes, auto, yes, and retail, have also pointed to the rise of generative AI as a force that's likely to or already has changed the size of people's workforces. Now, again, this may have nothing to do with AI because Amazon's already come out and said, now we've done this video, they've said Amazon may replace 600K jobs with robots, okay? But again, those are corporate jobs. That has more to do with financing and budgeting and things of that nature. Here's the memo that Amazon released to their employees. Some may ask why we're reducing roles when the company is performing well. Across our business, we're delivering great customer service every day, innovative at a rapid rate, and producing strong business results. What we need to remember is that the world is changing quickly. Yeah, right. The generation of AI is the most transformative technology we've seen on the internet, and it's enabling companies to innovate much faster than ever before. We're convinced that we need to organize more leanly with fewer layers and more ownership to move as quickly as possible for our customers and business. Now, before I get Mitch's opinion on whether or not he's surprised on what's going on with these 30,000 layoffs, I want to listen to this person on your screen you see here, because he made a TikTok video and he's pointing out something else that may be behind the recent round of layoffs. And he's pointing out also that the AI and robot story may be complete nonsense. Listen to this.
Amazon laid off 30,000 people today. The narrative is that this is about AI replacing jobs. The reality is very different. And I want to be really precise about it because it gets at corporate structure and finance and not really at AI in the way you think. So when people think AI layoffs, they think the robots are doing the jobs now, and therefore we are having layoffs. No, the people who are doing the jobs are more stressed if they're still at Amazon, but the AI automation story isn't actually hitting those jobs. What is hitting those jobs and is related to AI is the cost of chips. So NVIDIA sells chips to everyone, GPUs. Those chips are how we power AI, and none of the major cloud providers can get enough chips right now. Microsoft can't, Google can't. Google's in an easier spot, they have TPUs, and Amazon definitely can't. In fact, people don't know this, but AWS has a roughly 25% burning backlog on GPUs. In other words, they are missing out on revenue because companies are begging for more compute from AWS that they can't fulfill because they can't buy GPUs because they only had so much budgeted to buy GPUs. And so, yes, the layoffs are related to AI, but in this case, it is burning corporate demand for GPU chips that is hitting the capital expenditure budget of Amazon so hard that they need to find other ways to reduce fixed costs so they can meet the expectations of Wall Street around the overall margins of the business. And you might be like, well, why does that matter? They're all like billion-dollar companies. In Amazon's case, their margins have always been notoriously thin everywhere except AWS. Retail is like a ridiculously thin business. But the AWS margins have been really good. And so the street, for better or worse, expects them to continue growing the high margin business at a good clip. The street was not happy with their 18% year over year growth rate this quarter. And the street is looking for them to pick that growth rate back up, which they cannot do if they cannot buy more chips. And they cannot buy more chips without destroying their margin unless they can cut costs other places. And chips are so expensive that the only way they can cut costs is by going after jobs or fixed costs or salaries. And that is what is happening.
Most people, including me, expected to see Amazon lay off factory workers. What the guy in the video just claimed as far as the expense with chips, that's interesting. What do you think is really going on at Amazon? Is it the inflation?
Well, one must look at who's causing the inflation, i.e. the plants that are being built to support all the factories, right? Because this is all data driven. So these plants are data plants, million and a half square foot plants, and that suck up a lot of power, which obviously adds to inflation. Not as much as the Federal Reserve, but nonetheless inflation. I was just reading coincidentally last night that some of these chips that NVIDIA is trying to get produced are $30,000 per chip. So what that gentleman was saying is probably more than likely dead on point. They can't get the chips. Something's got to give. They want to maintain the bottom line. And I think you asked before, am I surprised at any of this? No, because we said it was coming, independent of the fact that NVIDIA can't produce the amount of chips at a reasonable price. These things happen. I mean, look at it this way. How is it that Amazon had this amount of employees and all of a sudden, well, we have to let them go? In other words, bad programming on their part. Perhaps the employee shouldn't have been there from the word go. And then perhaps Amazon didn't tell the truth to the street. So instead of telling the truth, well, we'll just hide it. We'll bury it and say we're getting rid of excess staff to the tune of 30,000. More than likely, this fellow's right.
Do you have any idea why the cost of chips has skyrocketed over the last few years? Is it because of demand for AI? Is that what's going on here? Or where is this sudden skyrocketing cost for chips coming from?
There's no doubt. And there's technical rules that say that basically a chip, its processing power will double every 18 months roughly. There's no doubt that the demand for AI is pushing the data centers, is pushing faster chips, is pushing more storage capacity. All those things are true, but one must look at what is the real cost. You get a data center in an area where the grid can't handle it, can that data center itself knock down the grid? From what I've been reading, the answer is yes. So these things all come at a cost. And then you look at the banks. Remember, this is part of the problem. The banks finance these data centers. If the chips double in size every 18 months, that means that your footprint, your capacity, your real estate capacity is actually shrinking, not growing. So they grow into the demand, the chips get faster and smaller, which means that the square footage necessary to hold it starts shrinking. Well, those banks that loaned on these 1.5 million square foot buildings, what happens to them? Just recently, as in 2 weeks ago, I was reading that many of these data centers are on the market and can't be sold. There's no demand for it. That'll come up and down depending on what the market is doing. But the point of the matter is, at this point in time, the physical demand to buy a data center finished, locked, loaded, ready to go isn't there. So all these things are connected. And Travis has used AI. I've used AI. I believe in the future. Do I think it's great now? No. I've seen it really good on the legal side, but I've also typed in information where it came back with utter propaganda, completely useless. So I put it at an 85% mark. Over time, will it get better? Yes, but it's only as good as what it can see. And it's not at the point where it's learning. It does really good things with graphics, there's no doubt, but hard for people to make money with just graphics.
But nevertheless, like you were saying, maybe those employees should never have been flip-flopped like that, and the fact that they're doing job cuts primarily probably for competition for data centers or chips so they can afford that, but they're saying something kind of different to their employees. I don't like it. Again, to me, debt, debauchery, and lies. That's all I see here. Now, I'm not the only one that feels this way, Mitch.
Money.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to listen to a video of a Senate hearing where people are absolutely roasting Amazon for all of the destruction that they're causing.
We are here to diagnose the issue. I think that's diagnose the problem. That's the title of the hearing. So let's just take a look at what the problem is that's staring us right in the face, which is the rise of these giant corporations like Amazon, for example. The biggest corporations in the history of America, the biggest corporations in the history of the world, the richest corporations in the history of the world. They're making money like we've never seen before, but they don't want to pay their workers. A lot of times they don't even want to have workers. They don't want to have American workers. Look at Amazon. Here's their net sales and net income. In 2024, Amazon's net sales topped $600 billion, $637 billion to be exact. Their net income doubled from 2023 to 2024. Doubled. Their CEO is getting paid, let me make sure I get this right. In 2024, Amazon's president earned $40.1 million in total compensation. 40.1. The previous year, he'd earned merely 29.2. I mean, that's an unbelievable, that's great work if you can get it. That's an unbelievable raise. Only problem is, according to their own financial disclosures, Amazon's average worker, average employee worldwide is making $37,181. $37,181. So that's a C-suite to employee ratio of 1,078 to 1. And meanwhile, these guys are fighting you, Mr. O'Brien, every step of the way as you try to get some basic representation for their workers, for their drivers. Tell us about what you've been facing from this company.
Yeah, so Amazon, I'll get this right at one point. Amazon is probably the largest violator of the NLRA right now.
Mitch, before I go to the second segment of that video, which when I heard it, shocking, biggest violator, well, you'll see in a minute, but it really seems like you'll see and hear in a second that they don't care about their employees. Can you comment to what that gentleman just said at that Senate hearing? Do you agree with him that Amazon doesn't care about their employees? And would you also reconfirm whether or not you agree or not that Amazon is ruining America and small business?
You can't object to a business doing what a business does. However, not paying the employees a wage that allows them to live in their neighborhood is a huge problem. Its destruction of small business across the United States is a massive problem because it is not Amazon that is the sole employer throughout the US. It's mom and pop. Small business is the biggest employer in the United States, bar none. And as I've been jumping up and down about, hurt mom and pop, you hurt and break the US economy. This is the point that Senator Hawley should be focused on. it is okay and absolutely within his right, and he is correct, that when you're earning net revenue, net 2 billion per day, I'm pretty sure you can afford to pay the employees some more money and keep everybody happy. The bigger point being, it's not just Amazon. They are destroying mom and pop. Therein lies the problem. That's one of the reasons why I've said time after time, if you can shop local, shop local.
When we step back, they're killing small businesses, absolutely destroying them. And then those small businesses not only have to compete with companies like that with smaller margins, small businesses are getting massively taxed out of those businesses with property taxes, inflation, lack of proper staff. People trying to make money continues to rot away our culture. I'm going to try to stick locally, and I'm going to try never to use Amazon again, because listen, guys, to the second half of the Senate video.
And they have grown significantly, to your point. They focus on 150% turnover ratio in their workforce. They focus on distressed communities. And the number one violator of OSHA, they've got the most violations last time we checked. Now, we have a model that's a similar company that employs similar workforce at United Parcel Service, 340,000 Teamsters that are part-time and full-time. Those part-timers earn full-time benefits, health and welfare and pension. They earn wage increases guaranteed every year. They earn a livable wage. And most importantly, they have a path to a full-time career that on the average, the UPS full-time employee makes about $140,000 per year for doing the same business. And UPS is a very profitable business.
Boy, you talk about $140,000 in change. You talk about that versus 37,000. I'm just thinking back to your reference to rerum novarum, the dignity of the individual. I mean, how are you supposed to raise a family on $37,000? The difference between that and what you've been able to secure at UPS is incredible. Let me just ask you this. Amazon is also one of the biggest offenders when it comes to not negotiating with workers who've decided to unionize. You mentioned Staten Island. I think they're still waiting for a first.
Yeah, Staten Island was organized in 2022 under the ALU. It took a certain amount of time to get certified. Once certified, the intent is to sit down and bargain a contract. We actually represent those workers now. In 3 years, we have not been able to get them to a table. It's been stall tactics, obviously challenging the constitutionality of the NLRA, but also filing charges at the NLRA, NLRB, so they are, contradicting themselves every turn of the way just to use union avoidance. And I believe there was a article in the Economic Policy Institute, which was dead on, that stated Amazon has zero intention of engaging in real good faith collective bargaining with representatives of Staten Island workers. In fact, their business model, which relies on high worker turnover and avoiding responsibility for their employees, is designed to make union organizing nearly impossible.
In that context, tell us why the Faster Labor Contracts Act is so important to put a shot clock on these big corporations so they can't just say, well, you voted to unionize, good luck to you. We're never, ever going to sit down and talk to you.
Yeah, the Faster Labor Contracts Act has timelines. It has consequences for bad behavior. And I think it's important that if and when this Faster Labor Contracts Act is passed, bad actors like Amazon will be forced to the table, will be forced to negotiate, and will have to agree to a first-time contract without retaliating against the employees. And you will see a continued workforce that has a future under this Faster Labor.
Mitch, it seems like Amazon could possibly, and actually probably will, turn the labor market into complete trash. All of the rights that we were used to as full-time employees seem to be gone. Doesn't seem like you can have a career there. Can you tell me, sir, is this why anti-monopoly laws are so important? And if that's true, if anti-monopoly laws are important to prevent this type of thing, then can we also say that anti-monopoly laws have failed American citizens by allowing Amazon to become what it has become today?
Yes, and it's worse. So let's back up here. And this is a plea to Senator Hawley. Property taxes are to be uniform and fair. Samsung, Amazon, Many of these corporations that Travis is speaking of that perform monopolistic maneuvers get real estate tax breaks that mom and pop and other industries don't get. Therefore, there is no uniformity or fairness of tax. And Senator Hawley, that is the constitutional issue. Pay attention to what I'm saying, because you're looking at people who earn $37,000, they may have a spouse, whatever. Maybe they get that income up to $70,000 or $85,000. However, out of that $85,000 household income, do you realize that 9% on average, gross, 9% of the gross income goes to pay for property taxes? If you truly care about the plight of mom and pop, and you want to bring Amazon to heel, insist that all property tax is repealed in favor of the uniform states sales tax. Do that and you will move the needle big time. You will solve major problems for mom and pop. Therefore, no tax, no special tax break will be afforded any one of these monopolistic companies. Gone. Senator Hawley, you've got a job to do. I'm handing you the information on a silver platter. Pick it up.
I hope you guys understand what Mitch just said, because he just knocked it out of the ballpark. These monopoly companies like Amazon and Samsung, they get massive price, like the value of their property reductions. As an example, we've been looking at a Samsung facility. I believe it's worth something like $2 or $3 billion or something along those lines, but it's only being taxed for less than 60 million. How is it possible that we are giving these massive monopoly companies a tax break when all of us are suffering? A small neighborhood may pay more in property taxes than a massive Amazon warehouse. That's just how this thing works. Mitch, I want to give you the last words. Can you give us your final thoughts on everything we just discussed?
A plea to the government, including Senator Hawley. A few days ago, we released a document. It's on my website, top dead center, mockingbirdproperties.com/DCAD. So Senator Hawley, you don't have to go through days of looking for data. There's a document there called Terminal Failure. And I'm in the process of turning that document into a book. And it was literally just sent over to one of my attorneys about 15 minutes ago. So look at that document and use it. It's Terminal Failure, and it is about institutionalized systemic moral hazard. This is what the government has created. And you will see very quickly that when I said I'm handing this to you on a silver platter, get the document. It truly is, and it outlines everything you need to know in order to move forward and understand that what we are speaking about here on that website, on Jeff Mashburn's website, commonsenselaw.org, and on Travis's website, realestatemindset.org, these are constitutional issues. We're handing this to you, the senator, to you, every senator, every politician. You need to read this because your constituents, to the tune of 37.8% of them, be it 42 million people across the United States of America, are in harm's way of bankruptcy. So I get you want to hit Amazon in the head. Believe me, I get it. But that's not solving the problem. The problem is protect mom and pop, because if you don't, you will bring down the U.S. economy. It is mom and pop that is the U.S. economy. That document, Terminal Failure, lays it out. The book I'm working on now, again, Terminal Failure, that will lay out over 440 pages of evidence. We're in the process of working on it now. It'll be posted shortly. We'll turn it into a book. That's the plan.
And you guys, we really appreciate you following along and watching this video. Don't forget to like it, share it, and comment below. And don't forget, again, like Mitch said, go to our website, empower yourself, love someone, don't lose hope, and wait for the advocacy to be created. The website is being created, hopefully sooner rather than later. So we have some place you can go if you want to join this movement. The movement is growing, guys, and we want you to be a part of it. Now, other than that, if you guys are out there trying to figure out what's going on in the economy, you guys already know we wish you luck, and we hope you win.